The Bruen Mk9, the SAW, the M249, it's being called a lot of different things. For the purposes of this video, I'm just gonna call it the Mk9. Finally, a DLC weapon that I actually have recommended classes for instead of just, do whatever you want, it doesn't matter. These videos have gotten more lazy than I wanted them to, but that's just because I'm out of ideas. Luckily, the Mk9 comes in and sort of shakes things up a little bit. The Mk9 is what the Holger should have been, and it even has the same fire rate as the Holger, which isn't a bad fire rate at around 760 rounds per minute, but the Mk9 can get a 3-shot kill to the torso up close, and it goes out to being about a 5-shot kill at longer ranges. So really, you have a higher damage Holger, but also a more customizable Holger. Like I pointed out in my Holger video, the Holger is essentially a worse Kilo. Basically, the Kilo is just a lighter, more customizable Holger, but the Mk9 is a more customizable, higher damage Holger. Like the Holger, you can shorten barrels to speed up the gun, take off the stock, and even change your ammo to lighten the load a little bit. But the Holger goes from 100 rounds to 30. The Mk9 allows you to beat that in every way, by going from a 100-round belt-fed box to a 200-round belt-fed box, or a 60-round standard rifle magazine. When I reviewed the Holger, I said it would be a much better weapon if its 30-round mag was replaced by a 50 or 60-round mag to compete with the other assault rifles in the game. The M13, the Kilo, the M4, the AK-47 can all have more than 30 rounds of ammunition. Seeing how the Holger wasn't really accurate, didn't have a lot of damage, didn't have a ton of range, and couldn't even compete when it came to magazine size when converted into a more standard assault rifle build, it just didn't work. It wasn't competitive, and it still, in my opinion, really isn't. Fun, it works, but it's not competitive. And the Mk9 is what the Holger should have been. This thing actually earns the title of being an LMG. The Holger should have just been a G36 in the AR category. I just feel like they didn't want to add more assault rifles into the game, so they gave it a beta mag by default and said, it's an LMG. Mk9, LMG all the way. And I will say, the Mk9 is not the most phenomenal weapon in the game. When it comes to shooting and killing people with this gun, it's a little messy. The reason I say that is because I have noticed a very inconsistent time to kill with this weapon. Sometimes it absolutely deletes people, other times I feel like I mix in an arm or a leg shot as I'm shooting at somebody at a distance, and I just feel like I need 6-7 bullets to kill. It's sort of how the SA-87 felt before they buffed it. The time to kill was all over the place. It would melt one person and then hit marker the hell out of the next because you weren't being precise. And here's the thing, LMGs are not precision weapons. They shake, they kick, they're loud, they're slow to reload. It's not exactly something I want to have to precisely aim at the upper torso with, but you're gonna have to do that with the Mk9, which is sort of unfortunate. The gun doesn't have the fire rate of the MG34, it doesn't have that 3-shot kill range of the N91, or the raw killing potential, versatile killing potential of the PKM, but it has 2 different ways you can run it that are equally efficient at their 2 different roles. The first role is a corridor controlling build. This weapon is amazing for controlling corridors where you can easily predict enemies. Think like most of the map of Vacant. So I like to go with FMJ and 200-round magazine because that is a lot of killing potential and it also makes you a very capable anti-streak player. Then I use the Forge Tac Ultralight so I can sort of strafe in gunfights and keep myself moving while I'm getting shot at and doing some shooting. It helps a lot. I like to use a hybrid sight on my more standard slow LMG builds because then I have a lot of versatility whether or not I'm in close range or long range, and this gun can do both. If you want to mount this gun and use it at long range, it'll work, and if you want to clear a room with it, the Forge Tac Ultralight will help you a bit with that. And then, instead of any recoil controlling attachments or muzzle attachments, I just went with the Summit Barrel because it helps with the damage range, the bullet velocity, and the recoil control, and I found my time to kill being a lot more consistent with this barrel. This is a pretty heavy build, but it's an LMG, it's kind of the idea. The nice thing is this gun has such low recoil, you really don't need to mount it for mid to close range combat, and then at long range, if you mount it and then use the zoomed in hybrid optic, you will be able to just counter snipe people across the longest lines of sight you can think of. And again, that ultralight stock just helps a little bit strafing in the gunfights and, making sure that you're just not as easy to hit as a completely stationary player. The next build we have here is a heavy assault rifle class. We have stippled grip tape, FSS close quarter stock, a GI Mini reflex, 60 round magazine, and commando foregrip. This helps with aim down sight speed, aiming stability, recoil stabilization. We have a much lighter profile with the 60 round mag, and of course the reflex is just there to help you see your targets because the iron sights on this gun are a little bit funky. If you want to play a little bit more conservative, take the stippled grip off and use a monolithic suppressor. Also, that ultralight stock that helps with aim walking movement speed is not a bad idea. Treat this like a conservative rifle. Don't try to turn this into something you can rush people with. You can't. I'm sorry, Noah J. This is not a better M4. I don't know why we clickbait the way we do, us YouTubers. I just don't get it, but no, it's not an M4 competitor. It doesn't shoot as fast, it's heavy as hell. Its 3-shot kill range is pretty respectable, but not something that's going to compete with the sweatier guns in the game. Don't try to use this where it's not supposed to be used, okay? This is not going to be an amazing room-clearing LMG. You're not going to be sliding in and getting tons and tons of quad feeds in close range. I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm saying it's not what you should be building the gun for or expecting. I wish the LMG was a little bit better up close and maybe a little bit better at a distance, but its mobility and its damage at range is just not that optimal. And yeah, you could take the stock off, you could put on stippled grip, use the 60 round mag, use the shortest barrel, and just turn it into something it's not, but like a bird in a cage, it's just gonna wish it was somewhere else. So many people abuse their guns in this game by forcing them into roles they're not meant for. The Mk9 is not going to be an SMG. Don't try to make it a sprint to fire, aim down sight god. You're just, yeah, you could do it, but it's not worth going for. It has a nice middle of the road fire rate, which makes the recoil incredibly easy to control. Again, you do not need to mount this unless enemies are very far away. It deals solid damage, it's super versatile, super easy to use, very intuitive LMG. Honestly, this should have been the default LMG. But because this gun now exists, don't use the holger. If I catch you fucking weebs using your holger with your little weeboo waifu skin, I'm gonna be upset. Because this gun exists, and this gun is better. And yes, you might be thinking, why isn't Boom complaining about that? I'm about to. Yeah, the Mk9 being in the game sort of just fucks the holger. Just by being in the game, it fucks the holger. Just completely fucks it over, stabs it in the back, pisses on its grave. It's disappointing. Because the holger should be a competent weapon. I mean, there's no point in adding a weapon that's not competent, but since it was added to the game, I've been dogging on it, and now this thing comes along, and it's like, hey, this is what an LMG should be. I think this gun is versatile and intuitive, just powerful enough to be competitive. It really should have been the default LMG that launched with the game. And it's got such a recognizable profile, who can hate it? Just imagine if they buffed the holger, gave it a 200 round mag option and a 60 round mag option, then imagine it could get a 3-shot kill. There you have the Mk9. Even this gun naked was very, very capable in my hands. The only thing I don't like is its iron sights. You could just throw an optic on this weapon and it shouldn't fight you too much. So, and I don't get to say this often, everything you put on this weapon is a bonus. And that is that is such a sweet thing to be able to say. I just wish it didn't come in and kick the crap out of an existing weapon. And that's disappointing, but I've gotten a lot of feedback from you guys. Most of you guys don't really care about that. In my critique of Modern Warfare's weapon design video, many people are just like, I like having the guns, I don't care what they do. They have different looks and aesthetics and sounds. That's all I care about. You know what? Fair enough. But luckily the Mk9 looks badass, sounds badass, is badass. You know, you don't just have to like it because of how it looks. It's actually competent. Just don't expect to beat sweaty M4 and MP5 players. Don't expect to be the best close quarters captain in the world. Play it to its strengths, or don't play it at all. I will see you when I see you guys. Goodbye.